Today is the solemnity of Saint Thomas, one of the 12 apostles. Saint Thomas has often been called Doubting Thomas. However, this is to do a disservice to Thomas and to Jesus, because in the gospel text that we will hear today, Jesus never calls Thomas doubting. He calls him unbelieving. The Greek word for unbelieving is apistos. So Jesus says to Thomas, do not be apistos, be pistos, which means do not be unbelieving, be believing. The question arises as to why did Thomas not believe? He did not believe the disciples who had told him that Jesus had appeared to them. In chapter 20, verses 19 to 23, Jesus appears to the disciples when Thomas was not present. And when Jesus appeared to the disciples, he gifted them the gift of peace. Not only did Jesus gift the peace once, but he gifted it twice. And then he breathed on the disciples and communicated to them the Holy Spirit and gave them a commission to forgive and to retain sin. For 8 days, it is likely that the disciples were with Thomas, because it is 8 days later that our text for today begins. And Thomas is told by the disciples that Jesus has appeared to them, that Jesus has given them a commission, that Jesus has gifted them peace and has breathed the Holy Spirit on them. And Thomas looks at them and is not able to recognize that any one of them has been touched by the presence of Jesus. He says to them, looking at you, you look the same to me. There seems to be no transformation in any of you. There seems to be no change in any of you. It does not seem to me that the Lord has appeared. So the fault is not with Thomas. The fault is with the disciples who verbally communicated to Thomas that the Lord had appeared, but were unable to show that the Lord had indeed appeared. Be that as it may, the Lord realizes that if Thomas is to be transformed from unbelieving to believing, the Lord must come again. And the Lord makes himself known to Thomas, inviting him to put his fingers in the nails in his hands and in his side. We are not told whether Thomas did that, but what we are told is that Thomas responds with the highest acclamation for Jesus found anywhere in the New Testament, my Lord and my God. This is once again an indication that Thomas was not really doubting, he was only unbelieving. And his unbelief was because his companions were unable to convince him of the appearance of the Lord. The Lord appears to every one of us, and constantly and consistently. The Lord makes himself known to us at every single moment of our lives. The Lord breathes on us the Holy Spirit and gives us this commission and asks us to go and transform the world, to set the world on fire. The world has not yet been set on fire because we have not accepted the Spirit which the Lord communicates. We have not accepted the commission which the Lord communicates, and that is why there are so many unbelieving Thomases among our midst. I pray that on this feast of St. Thomas, each one of us will be transformed with the breath of the Spirit of Jesus and might go out into the whole world and set the world on fire, so that those unbelieving Thomases might become believing. And the Lord will say that those Thomases who did not believe have begun now to believe that Jesus is present, Jesus is alive, and Jesus is Lord and God.